Rasulullah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa ahlam yajillahu iwaja. أحمده سبحانه وتعالى وأشكره وحمده وثانا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ومصطفى اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. Alhamdulillah bil alamin. We thank Allah Almighty for every opportunity. One great thing about belief is that in belief, the unseen is much greater than the seen. It was never a matter of numbers that Allah Almighty did not show that those faithful ones who believed in Him, believed in Allah Almighty, and feared their Lord, there was no doubt in their minds that they would not be successful in the sight of the odds being so overwhelmingly against them. Allah Almighty, through His Quran, His words, the words of Allah Almighty, which cannot be interpreted through our creation, through our intellect, Allah Almighty starts off a surah. The name of a surah is called Taha. These are two of the Arabic characters in the Quran. And these are two of the alphabet in the Arabic alphabet. And Allah names the surah Taha. And He starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Then He says again, Taha. And He begins to narrate the reality of those that He sent before Him and how the words in Quran and words period, if you had all of the oceans of oceans of oceans, all the oceans that we know of in the world, and all the trees that we know of in the world, and they were pens, and those oceans were ink, never would you exhaust, the words would be exhausted in description of Allah Almighty before you actually come to the wisdom of Allah Almighty. In other words, the words would finish before it would get close to explaining who and what Allah Almighty is. These words in Quran, each character has at least 24,000 meanings. And each time the character is repeated in a word, there's another 24,000 meanings that still do not come close to who Allah Almighty is. And yet He starts the whole surah with Taha. Two Arabic characters in the letters of the Arabic. Then He repeats it again. Then start to narrate the story about Musa alayhi salam. And how that whole narration and reality of Moses' life. How his mother, during the time when Pharaoh was frightened that someone would be raised up to take his kingdom, and he was asking that all the firstborn men be killed, and after 3 months Moses' mother could not hide him anymore, so she placed him in a basket in a river that went into the shores of where the enemy that was trying to kill the firstborn, he ended up on the shore of the enemy of Allah Almighty and the enemy of that one whom Allah Almighty has sent right into the midst of his enemy. So how can we can't fathom such a being that has such gall and such power to send a baby in the presence of a tyrant, of an empire that was totally against the will and the way of life of Allah Almighty. Then Moses' mother, being one who was torn to pieces, was almost ready to give up the secret of her son being put into the clutches of Pharaoh. His sister went to the king, Pharaoh and his wife, and said, I know someone that can suckle this child. And it was Moses' mother. Allah says how I joined them back together. How can you fathom such a being with such eloquence, with such beautiful design, and so on time in everything? And all he asks us to do is be patient with him and let him bring about his plan. But we are created impatient. And it is difficult for us who are impatient, except for those of us who are lowly, who are humble, who submit our will to Allah Almighty. Those are the ones that Allah Almighty make as signs to be examples of what patience is. Because you cannot be patient on your own. If Allah Almighty gives us patience, He's adding faith to our faith and He's adding strength to our strength. Because in the sight of difficulties and all kinds of trials and tribulations, most of us would fall and succumb to our Lord desires of our anger, of our impatience, of our weaknesses, of our creation. Not so those who submit their will to Allah Almighty. They are not like us. They represent the best in us. Shaitan represents the worst in us. They hold and they defend their faith. They don't give up their faith for a miserable price. During the time of Esau ibn Maryam, Jesus Christ, they were coming to kill him because they were frightened. Also, they had been waiting for him to be born, to kill the firstborn, male born, because also that Pharaoh was frightened that his kingdom would come down. Allah Almighty always send that warning out. You've been rebellious all this time? Flash. Something coming on you one day. I'm going to touch you with something from your midst. In the person of a male child. Cause him to go bananas. He is looking for Jesus, trying to find him, couldn't find him. So when Esau ibn Maryam, Jesus Christ was being raised up, protected by Allah Almighty, he had some disciples around him, some companions around him. So when the heat came on him, on Jesus Christ, Esau ibn Maryam, those around him did not defend their faith. They left their faith. They said, I don't know him. They were frightened of Shaitan in the person of those leaders. But here is what they don't realize happened. Esau ibn Maryam, Jesus Christ, didn't give up his faith. He didn't say, okay, I'll stop doing what I do. I'll deny the God that sent me. Those disciples that denied him, denied their Creator's message through him, we don't even know about them no more. Esau ibn Maryam, Jesus Christ, they thought that when he was taken, he was put on a cross and he was crucified. Listen to me clearly. He did not die explain that that's unexplainable? How can you describe such a creator that can cause you to move from earth to the heavens? Made that one who denied Jesus Christ and the message of God through Jesus Christ to have his body there, and Allah Almighty made it appear it was Jesus Christ's face. And they placed up there the one that had deceived and crossed Jesus Christ, Judas. Judas died on the cross, not Jesus. Got the J's wrong. That's why when he come back, he's coming back with a sword. He's coming back to say that Shaitan tricked you like he tricked those before you. And those before you that submitted their will to Allah and defended their faith and didn't hide their faith, Allah Almighty protected them. And I was one that was protected. He will say that to the people. He will say that to the people. That is not so far on. The Jews are waiting for him. Christians are waiting for him. Muslims are waiting for him. His spiritual presence is already here. But before he can physically appear, there has to be a purification. Those words of the Creator have to be planted in the hearts of the people to prepare for his physical appearance. And usually when you have a good crop of vegetables or whatever, you have to first of all have soil that is full of minerals and vitamins, and they use fertilizer. They use feces and manure as fertilizers, which has a very bad stench and very bad smell. But it has a purpose. Allah Almighty turns that into a fuel that gives a power to that seed. So that seed will germinate and begin to have strong roots. Then it pushes it up above the earth. And that earth now is able, after it penetrates that earth, it is able to receive rain and sunlight to be nourished and nurtured to grow. Allah Almighty has allowed the worst of times. These times stink. But you have to realize that those people of faith, they don't hide their faith. They only see these times as fertilizer for the greatness that Allah Almighty is going to send up from the earth with a heavenly power to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. That's who they are. That's who they are. They don't think like us. They don't feel like us. They don't see like us. They don't hear like us. All they hear is their Lord. All they see is the kingdom of heaven being established on earth as it is in heaven. That's what they see. That's what they know. That's what they live. Those people of very little faith, they become unbelievers and rebellious and hypocrites. They are fertilizers for those people. They train them, and every time they're seen, they look at those of little faith. It increases their faith to know that they are like those of old, that they heard but didn't obey, that they were wiped out during the time of Noah because of their unbelief. They were wiped out in the time of Moses because of their unbelief. Moses didn't hide his faith. He freed his people by obeying his Lord. He only had his brother and a staff. Didn't hide his faith. It was bad fertilizer. Good fertilizer in the way of the worst of manure and stench. But Moses was able to come out from that to be a representative of his Lord. Same with Abraham alayhi salam. Allah Almighty turned that fire and those conditions into places of paradise, streams running. Oh, he was fishing. How do you explain such a creature from a creator? Such a being. How can we not believe knowing that we were not so long ago floating in the womb of our mother not knowing anything? Deaf, dumb, and blind. And yet now we don't believe. You don't believe that Allah Almighty can change and take all of this stench, all of this fertilizer and fertilize the goodness of His word to have it in the person of people bringing about the kingdom of heaven on earth. We have become people of little faith. And that's why we suffer. Suffer. We suffer because we're not dead. We're dead spiritually, but we're not dead. We are dead to goodness, but we are alive to evil. And that's where we live. That's hell. That's what hell is. We're dead to goodness and alive to evil. And we eat, sleep, and drink it. And we have become manure. We have become fertilizer for those who will bring and raise up a people that will not be like those who became manure, became fertilizer. We're in those times now. It happens in all times. People just can't have Iman. People just cannot be bold with their Lord. It has to be their Lord with them and them with their Lord, because we're all are weak. We're all are weak. They have something that we seek. They have something that we need. We run to them for our sustenance. They don't run to us for our sustenance, for their sustenance. They run to their Lord. Our Lord sends us to them to be nurtured and nourished, to bring us back to life. If we're lucky, we find them. If not, we're unlucky, then we don't find them. This is a whole new day, a whole new time. This is a new day, but this is a brand new day. This is a day we've never seen, never heard, never felt. All that Allah Almighty that is put in His words, in the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. We're seeing the germination of those words in the hearts of people that will represent the miracle, the signs of their Lord, in a time that is most decadent. Everybody's lost their hope. They've lost their faith. They're looking to family, friends, and the government for their sustenance. They're not looking to their Lord. They're not looking to the heavens. Jesus Christ, Esau ibn Maryam said, they said, where's the kingdom of heaven? They said, the kingdom of heaven is within. What did the Prophet Muhammad say? The kingdom of heaven is within. What did Moses say is within? What did Abraham say is within? What did all of them say is within? Because when you change what is in yourself, Allah Almighty changed what is outside yourself. If you change that that's decadent in yourself, Allah Almighty will make everything to be good and peaceful. That is the state of Islam. That is the destiny of Islam. The destiny of Islam is to bring light to where there's darkness, peace where there's no peace, prosperity where there's no prosperity, love to where there's no love, joy to where there's no joy. There are people that believe their existence is that. They have become the words of their Lord. Not just a messenger, they have become the words of their Lord in motion. So that means it's going to be. It will be on earth as it is in heaven. That's why they're on the planet. They know why they're on the planet. They know who they are and whose they are. You can't bribe them. You can't scare them. The best thing to do is submit to what they say. Fall in line. Otherwise, we will be wiped out. Allah has promised in the Quran. There's a lot of meaning in Quran. Allah says all those high mountains will be crushed. Everything will be flat and everything will be clear. We may think, okay, Allah is going to destroy the mountains and it's going to be flat. Yeah, with hurricanes and tornadoes and all kinds of things. But Allah Almighty is going to knock out that we accept or believe in God in ourselves, that God that we have put in ourselves, our ego, and flatten it out so truth will be able to prevail. We will not stop those whom Allah Almighty is sending to us to establish the kingdom of heaven. Nothing will block them. Everything in their way that's going to be an impediment or an obstacle will be wiped out. Will be wiped out. They don't fear nor do they grieve. Their will is their Lord's will. Their Lord's will is their will. That's the unity of Allah Almighty. That is the station of Islam, bringing peace and prosperity and happiness to the hearts of people. Some people are on this planet to be whatever but some people are on the planet for their Lord only. Allah may put them anywhere, raise them anytime. Put them in places that you don't even expect them to be because they don't hide their faith. Allah wants to show them off. And Allah wants to send a mercy to us through their person. Allah wants to show us what Iman is, what faith is. Allah wants us to taste it and see it and touch it and be inspired by it. So Allah may raise any low life person that believes in their Lord, like He raised up David, who was a sheep herder. They killed Goliath. Like He raised up Talut, who was also a sheep herder. They killed, that helped in the kill of Goliath. Moses was a sheep herder. Prophet Muhammad, all these people were sheep herders around taking care of animals to be raised to take care of the human animals and give them guidance, because Allah Almighty said to Adam alayhi salam and Eve alayhi salam that He would not leave them without guidance. Even though they were disobedient to their Lord, Allah Almighty chastised them not only by falling from felicity, becoming spiritually dead to goodness, but alive to evil and discomfort and difficulties, to be renewed and to regain their purpose, to realize that they failed because they listened to that Allah Almighty warned them not to listen to. We do the same thing. We do the same thing and we get the same kind of punishment. We're asking Allah Almighty to forgive us. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala khairil mursaleen, Muhammadin Nabi Ummi wa ahlihi wa sahbihi ajmeen, amma ba'd. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We must regain our wisdom. Nothing is more important than this moment. Don't let Shaitan cheat you by distracting you. Nothing is more important than this moment. Maybe this moment was coming for this moment would have been the very thing to keep us from hellfire. Maybe Shaitan diverted us and maybe we lost. When we come here, you look and listen. You look and listen. Allah Almighty always tests those who are going to believe. All those who are going to listen. It's always a test. All the prophets went to trials and tribulations. That was part of them raising so they will learn about the power in themselves. But if you succumb to the trials and tribulations, you become a part of trials and tribulations. You become a trial and tribulation to people. Because if you're like a rabies-bitten dog, once you have the rabies, every time you touch somebody or scratch somebody, they become rabies-bitten, like a dog. Don't allow yourself to be bitten by Shaitan. Lessons in everything. Before our very eyes, we see what is going on. Some get it, some don't. Some listen without understanding, some listen with understanding. Some accept, some don't accept. Some will be fertilizer, some will be the benefit of the fertilizer. We're asking Allah Almighty to forgive us. Woman, now, Tawfiq, if I could come this about.